For most Africans, a Ghanese woman means a prostitute, a judgment issued without right to appeal, because in this country of overwhelming misery, endemic unemployment, and galloping inflation, the only future a young woman will find is through exile, and the future begins in neighboring countries like Ivory Coast, Togo, and Nigeria. What awaits them there is prostitution. With a little bit of luck, these women from Ghana will earn enough money to leave for Europe and make their dreams a reality. This Ghanese woman is Tamara, a woman who, like many others, was exported at the age of 13 toward Canada and then Libya and finally Europe. Her apparently idyllic life was in reality an extended nightmare. Yet she returned to her hometown and has been prosperous ever since. Because of her prosperity, many women in Ghana now want to be just like Tamara. Fathia, for example, who works day and night to try and imitate her. By day, Fathia runs a little workshop in the nearby village of Accra, the capital. And by night, the oldest profession in the world. Every night she works under the supervision of Gariba, a very particular protector of his kind, because thanks to his strategic placements, Gariba owns this tiny village.
Hey, big mommy. Yeah, Kindao. Yeah, Kasuan.
Did you protect a lot of Ghanaian girls?
Yes, yes.
How many?
More than 10. Even at times, some people, if they harass them, they come to my house and slave.
How many Ghanaian girls there is in Nigeria?
A lot. A lot of Ghanaian girls. More than 1,000.
More than 1,000?
More than 1,000.
And young, old?
You know, at times they used to grow 12 years. Girl, 13 years, 14, 16, 17 years.
But how old is she?
She's about, say, 30.
Yeah. 13?
Yeah.
And if she come to you and say, I would like to go to Nigeria, what would you do?
It's easier. I would just pick her along. Without no passport, I can send her down to Nigeria.
And make good money?
Yeah. If only she's interested on what I wanted her to do in Nigeria.
But Fathia has her feet on the ground. She wants to make her dream come true, and after a long morning spent in the workshop, she spends the afternoon transforming herself so that she will be able to do just that. Her first departure was a failure, so today, a few years later, of legal age and vaccinated, she is willing to do anything to succeed. Prostitution seems like a quicker route than working in a restaurant.
Fathia?
Hello.
Can you come, please?
Okay.
At what age did you leave Ghana for Togo?
That is 14.
And why?
Right. The situation here is very hard.
At the time?
Yeah.
You like to go to Europe or to do something?
Yeah, if I get something like, I would like.
Like what?
Going to Europe, I would like it.
To do what?
You know the job.
Prostitution.
Okay, it can be.
What is the goal or the dream of your life?
Okay, you know, I want to establish and become, I've been hearing a girl called Tamara.
Like you
Well, I've been hearing of her. I know she became rich.
Tamara, the envy of all the women from Ghana, has stopped discouraging her disciples by telling them the story of her life, because the reality of her life as a dancer, a bar girl, and an intercontinental prostitute defies all imagination. Yet she owes her life and her fortune to it, as well as her strength of character. How many times did she have to defend herself with a knife to avoid being disfigured, and how many gunfights did she have to avoid in order to continue living? And how many men sagged heavily on her body for her to hate them as much as she does today? As she takes the road to her native village, Tamara doesn't talk about success, rather she talks about revenge. She has only one wish, that her two daughters, Tamara and Krista, will never know what she has lived through.
What are the worst pimps in Europe that you've met?
I've met the worst ones.
Which nationality, I mean?
Swiss, German, you know. And they want me to do so many things. Some places they keep your passport, and then they will keep your money, and if you don't do what they want, then they will take, they will tell the police to take you away out from the country. So many things, you know, so many things going on over there. So I feel very pity for my sister. Sometimes they will force you to put drug on you, so you need the drug in your body, so you always come back to them. There's a time you get them. You know, how do you say, they will get you.
Yes.
You see? Because if you have the drug, the next day, of course, you get it. And then you are using all your money to pay them. And I always fight them.
It's feeling like you've been sold and treated like a slave.
Yes, if I'm dancing, I'm forced to drink with the customers, you know. I'm forced, if they say they want to sleep with me, I'm forced to go with them. In Europe, it was not easy. I have to fight for.
In Larta, where she was born, Tamara has built a hotel complex based on the plans that she mentally designed while men were using her body. It is here that she again dances, finally free, with Christy, her youngest, on her heels.
I met a Swiss guy. He also was forcing me to be a prostitute. And because I refused to do it, he went to the immigration, you know, to tell them bad things about me and all these things. And though I had a child with him, so the immigration did not even investigate the case. Just because I'm black, they put me in jail, you know, and then they allowed the guy to come and visit me. He said to me, if you do what I want, we'll make money. I'll make you a rich woman, you know. I'll bring you big people to make love with. You go with them like escorts, you know, when they are traveling, everything, we make money. And if you don't want to do it, you are not going to stay here. So while I was in jail for 1 week in Switzerland, I always tell him, no, I'm not doing it, and I'm going to go back to my country. And then, well, the day I got on board, they bring my little child, a little child with me. So when I came here, the child was sick and the child died.
We don't sell them, you know. We don't think that we sell them. Mm-hmm. We think that, you know, we're making business in between each other, right? They make money, they make profit, we also make a profit, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, now there's no more a slave trade. So for you to sell a human being for somebody.
Slave colonies with balls and chains no longer exist, but stronger yet invisible chains do. They're called dreams and hopes.
Betty, you know, you look so handsome and beauty.
Thank you.
You know, I hope Belinda has told you whatever I wanted you to do for me.
She came to me and informed me some this and that. I don't know what we are going to do.
Hey man, take care, you know, it's a business connection. Okay. You know, just to make money, right? I have a shop, I'm a businessman. I have a shop at Togo.
Togo, eh?
Yes, whereby I wanted to pick you along so that you work on my shop.
If you only be a reliable person too.
You know, I will pay you good, but you know, I don't know whether if you appreciate it or not. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I guess you said I've already seen them.
Okay.
And they're all ready to go.
Are they fine ladies?
Oh yeah, they're fine ladies.
They can accept what I want them to do for me too?
Yes.
Okay. Then wait for me a minute, the car is coming, then we'll go together. Right. Oh, I just wait for a long time, you hasn't come.
There was a big traffic on the road.
Oh, good. Okay, then I'm coming a minute.
Okay.
The driver has arrived, so you people have to give me the money, then I give it to him.
Okay, we are also ready.
We'll move. It will cost you 2,000 cedis.
2,000?
Yes.
It's very expensive.
How for do you know? That's the business.
I'm really small for us.
So you only my this.
Okay, I will give it to the driver. Maybe I will talk to him. Just to give consider. Okay. Okay.
How much it cost?
Oh, it depends. At times they can tell you should bring 1,000 cedis. Some people don't have passports. Okay? We don't get them down to the border town, which is Aplau, right? We may stop somewhere here, okay? Thereby, you know, we pass bush, right, to Togo, okay? Enjoying our car back to Nigeria or Benin.
The end of the road for most of these women from Ghana will be at best a sleazy window in a Belgian bar, or at worst, the morgue. But meanwhile, the dream will have become a veritable nightmare for most of them, as the experts of the Belgian Moral Patrol can confirm. Every year we find 1 or 2 or 3 corpses of prostitutes that have come from Ghana. Yes, there is real pressure on the girls. It's a fact. We investigate it every year. In this field, we deal with people who are prosperous and highly respected on the street with international reputations. You get the picture. These are serious networks, and it's not your average guy with his film camera that is going to find them. Whether you go looking at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m., the only law that exists in the world is the law of violence, force, pressure, fear. These are the key words of the people who exploit these women.
Ce sont les maîtres mots des gens qui profitent de ces femmes.
And an explanation for the bodies. Is it the settling of scores between them? Girls who want to leave but haven't paid their debts, who want to squeal or have been approached. Some haven't finished their contract, various reasons. And when you know that over the past 20 years, 30 million girls and women have been sold, what do you think? It doesn't surprise me. It's horrifying. And I'm convinced that the figure is rising steadily every day, because every day there are poor families in the mountains that sell them every day. So can you really say that 30 million is an accurate figure? It's only an estimate, and a lousy accountant came up with it. Under the clouds of Nepal and Kathmandu, its capital, wedges between religious tradition and the end of the 20th century, this city has become a new sexual paradise for tourists. And for the Nepalese women, it's become a living hell. Every year, thousands of them are kidnapped by the men of their village to be sold in Indian brothels. And if the traffickers make a living from this irrepressible market, poor families ruin themselves by trying to recover the children that they raised. Just like this young man who for 5 years has been trying in vain to recover his sister, who was sold to a brothel near Bombay for $1,200. In 1990, my sister got married to a man who lived nearby. She disappeared one day after having gone to cut the grass. I asked myself what on earth could have happened to her. I had the name of a dealer in Bombay, so I went to the brothel, but I couldn't find him or my sister. And so I came back here. Who gave you the name of the dealer? One of the people from here. From where? From my village. They told you where she was? Yes. It is here in the valley of Kathmandu, and more specifically in the tiny surrounding mountain villages, that the majority of the 7,000 young women who are sold each year to brothels in India are seduced and kidnapped. Isolated from the world, as if forgotten by time, the beautiful girls who work in the rice fields are ignorant of everything that would enable them to be wary of the beautiful promises of the pimps. For all young women, Kathmandu is still a golden land, and the paradise must be real because the others who have left have never come back. Except for one, Gita. And she is an outcast. She has AIDS. Kidnapped at the age of 9, sold 4 times, she was a prisoner for 10 years of a madam. For the first time today, she decided to tell her story of her long descent into hell before the assembled village.
A cousin who was older than I was offered me some money, 35 rupees a month, to come and live at his house. He got me drunk and drugged me and then brought me with 2 other girls to his place in Kathmandu. We spent the day there. Then we left for the city at the Indian frontier, where we were shut up for 7 days. After 3 days, a man came into the room. He wanted to sleep with me. I refused. I was in the dark. I didn't know what was going on. He came back several times. For 5 days, nobody bought me anything to eat. We hadn't eaten since we'd left for India. We didn't know where we were going. We arrived at the house of somebody in Nepal. How many thousands of rupees he had bought for us, I couldn't tell you. He put me in a room. In the next room was a Sherpa, and he said to me, "I'll bring you to my sister's house." There was a dealer who forced me to get into his car, where there were already 2 other girls. We didn't know where we were going. Once we got there, he took our clothes and gave us a bath and clean clothes. Then they put makeup on us. I stayed a month at that house. They kept beating me, but I wouldn't do anything. So they sold me to another house where I stayed 2 months, and then I was sold again. In the 4th house in Bombay, I stayed for 9 years. That's where I got sick. During the day I was okay, but at night I was feverish all night long. The dealer said that she was going to send me back home. She made me write to my father so that he could come and get me. He gave her 5,000 rupees, 24 grains of gold, and a little bit of jewelry. When I was released from the village hospital, nobody let me sit down anywhere. And if I asked for a cigarette, people threw one to me. Like that. Nobody would hand me a glass of water. They would put it down far away. Then they started throwing me the glass. My parents said to me, "You are going to live far away from the house."
Jita refused to speak about the man who had sold her. Then, overcome, she exploded.
Because of him, I was locked up, a prisoner for 9 years. He ruined my life.
There are thousands of girls like Jita in villages across Nepal. They represent a big win for the men who gamble in card games. They know that even if they return, they will be dishonored. They will be lost women. In Kathmandu, Tamil is a neighborhood where tourists can often spot in massage parlors or at the local hairdressers the 10,000 prostitutes of the city. Voluntarily or not, they left with the Pied Piper. And with the dimensions that sexual tourism is taking on nowadays, their journey has momentarily halted in the capital. But they are on reprieve at the mercy of the pimps who are ready to sell them for about $1,000 to any of the clients of the sex quarters or the men who stock the Indian brothels. All it takes is a quick stroll around the neighborhood at night, quickly to spot them.
What kind of girls?
21 years old.
No.
10 years old.
You have them?
Yes.
Oh.
17 years old.
Where?
Come with me.
Okay.
I show you. Just follow me because
that's the person you speak?
yeah, there's 3 chicks. Three chicks. 3 girls.
3 girls. You have 3 girls.
Yeah. Daddy. But one is small, no chest, nothing, no right. He study in high school. It's no good. These are good satisfied. What kind of dress you want? Nepali and European, Punjabi. You tell the dress, they come with the dress. And you can fuck up there.
And what do they do?
They can enjoy. If you want to take them country, no problem.
Them what?
You can take your country. You just tell me, you give me money, you stay here, I bring here.
These young girls are working, for a while, at a rug manufacturer's, but their employer is getting ready to sell them to an Indian brothel. These few were lucky, saved by a handful of men and women. One of them, Dr. Aruna Upreti, tells of their misfortunes.
5,000 to 7,000 girls. Some are minor, below 14, and some are 15, some are 17, and some are 25. They go for prostitution to India, and not all of them are taken by agents. Some think that they will have good job opportunities in India, and when they go in India and start to find a job, then they find themselves there, instead of in a good job, they are in brothels. So a lot of these type of cases has happened, and in sometimes some people They say that instead of working in Nepal in low salary, you will have good salary in India as a maid, servant, or in some places. Or sometimes even they say that they will make those girls heroine in film industry. So showing those type of dreams, these girls are taken to India, and sometimes the girls who are very small, 10, 12, they are kidnapped and taken to India.
Did you see with your eyes the way those girls were working?
Yes.
And what's those conditions?
Oh, it is very horrible condition. The room is just like this or even smaller, and then in one room there are 4 girls are staying or 4 women are staying, and in many rooms they are cooking there, and when the clients come they do their occupation there. And so in one room at the same time there are 4 clients, and at the same time this sexual act is going on.
In this safeguarded villa located in the suburbs of Kathmandu, 24 young women are protected from their pimps or their families. All these teenagers are HIV positive, like Anita, who just reported on the man who sold her for about $1,000. Or Kamala, the 13-year-old who was married by force at the age of 11, beaten by her in-laws. She ran away several months later only to be kidnapped. Her captor sold her for a little more than $1,000.
During the day, 6 or 7 clients would come. Meals depended on the day. If I complained, I was beaten. There were days when I didn't have any clients, and other days when I had 8 to 10. At night, sometimes 2 or 3 more would come. That was my life for 14 months. One night, at around 4 in the morning, I attached 3 sarongs together and I let myself down from the window to the street. I wanted to take a taxi, but none would stop for me. I had no money. I didn't know how to read a map. I didn't know where to go. A taxi stopped. I asked him to drive me to the center of Bombay. He demanded payment. I told him I had no money because I had been sold and that I had come from very far away, and I wanted to go back to Kathmandu where my parents live. At the police station, the chief asked me, "Where do you come from? How did you get here?" I said, "I am a girl from Nepal and I don't speak Hindu very well, just a little." A woman and 2 men took me out of Nepal and sold me for 30,000 rupees in a whorehouse. I decided to go back home, so I ran away. Once back home in Nepal, my father and mother said, "We already have other children. How on earth could we also feed another daughter?" So they made me work. I transported rocks all day long. I was sick all the time. I kept bleeding. They didn't even give me food to eat. My father beat me. He also beat my mother. He said from time to time, "Go back to your husband." One day I was so sick that I went to see a doctor in Kathmandu. He examined me and then he said, "Don't sleep with men anymore. You can never get married. You are going to have this sickness for the rest of your life."
Where's the man who sold you?
He is in prison.
Aren't you afraid of him? Did he threaten you?
I heard that he was going to kill me when he got out.
And you're sure that you're not afraid?
No, I'm not afraid at all.
There are 70 prisons in Nepal, and each holds between 15 and 20,000 prisoners. 40% of them, 8,000 people per prison, have been convicted for the traffic and sale of young women.
There are laws for this trafficking and prostitution, but they are very harsh law. If one is caught by selling girls or women, then there is 20 years imprisonment. But the problem is that very few people are caught because they can offer money to those people who are in post. That is one problem.
The man dressed in white is the assistant director of this prison, an open-door prison for the wealthy tradesmen of children. The man who's coming over here is not, despite appearances, the director. He is one of the traffickers. Since he has been here for 9 years, he's mastered all the ropes. Why are you here? I don't really know. I don't know, really. I don't know. I ask myself the same question every day. I was on a bus for India when a nice-looking old gentleman came by. He just showed up, like that. He asked me if I could do him a little favor. Because he couldn't make it to Bombay himself, he asked me if I would take his granddaughter to her father, who would be waiting there. So to make him happy, to help him out, I accepted. I got a 10-year sentence. An odd character, this prisoner. On the one hand, he proclaims his innocence, but without great conviction. On the other, he doesn't really seem particularly upset by what's happened to him. The favorable conditions from which he is benefiting seem to suit him just fine. In a year and a half, he will have served his time. You really haven't left anything out? No, I haven't forgotten anything because of that old-timer. Well, he showed up just like that. I did him a favor, and there you have it, 10 years. Above all, never admit anything. This seems to be the cardinal rule of all those who have been convicted of the trafficking of children. The same rule that seems to exist in the neighborhoods where these women work. 2 other prisoners detained for the traffic of minors also refused to reveal the facts.
There I was in my room one night when a man came to see me. He asked me if I could bring a young girl back to the village where he worked. I accepted. When I returned with her, I just walked into my room. The police burst in and arrested me. I still don't know why I'm here.
And you? Why are you in prison? She doesn't want to answer.
Take a smile. She's going. She's going. She doesn't want to talk.
Back to the men's prison. Our prisoner certainly seems quite free in his movements. A seemingly good father, he holds a baby lovingly in his arms. Obviously, the baby was conceived during his incarceration. He asks the jailkeeper to bring us another trafficker of young girls. How long have you been in prison? 8 years. How much time were you sentenced? 12 years. 12 years, yes. Why were you condemned to such a heavy sentence? Because I sold a child, and it wasn't the first time. Even though almost half of the incarcerated population in Nepal is behind bars for the trafficking and sale of young girls, outside the prison wall, business doesn't slow down. Every day, some 10 children are on their way to Indian whorehouses, a tragic one-way ticket. When they return, they are HIV positive. Santo Domingo, Vincente Nobile, population 30,000. And what's startling to a visitor is the deserted aspect of the city. You see only men, boys, and elderly people walking around. The women and the girls, 10,000 it is whispered, have all been exported. They believed in the promised land that the dealers glorified. They hoped desperately to find jobs as cleaning women, and at the end of the day, they found prostitution. Carmen Humbert has been fighting against these traffickers for 15 years. How much does a dealer make when he exports a woman?
He makes a lot of money, especially when you compare it to Dominican standards. In order for a woman to leave for Europe, she is obliged to put her destiny on the line. That means the next 5 or 6 years of her life are literally mortgaged. She also mortgages her house, sells her cow, pawns a piece of furniture. Why? Because her plane ticket, well, not the ticket, but the trip out, costs between $1,000 and $1,500. That's a lot of money here, especially for a woman of the people. And that's the real trap of the traffic. The women can't borrow money from anyone except from a dealer or one of his buddies. But as soon as they arrive in Europe, The little money they have, along with their passport, will be confiscated until they have reimbursed the totality of their debts. As long as they have not reimbursed the sum, they can't return to their country, and that's why a lot of women try to run away.
Julian owns a small public works company, but in reality, it's just a front. His main source of income comes from the trips that he organizes for the girls. He gets them a visa round-trip ticket and loans them $1,000, and everything will be confiscated by his partner when they get to Spain. All I do is stringently apply the regulations of the Spanish consulate. I provide them with a round-trip ticket, a 90-day visa, and a certain number of dollars, and that's how I proceed. How many women have you helped? Around 200. But that's beginning to change, because there are mothers who bring their girls who are still minors, girls of all ages. Makucha was one of Julian's clients. She has just returned to her country. How long were you in Spain?
2 years and 3 months. I was a clandestine alien. Above all, I wanted to pay back my debt. But as I was in an illegal situation, I didn't dare go outside because I was afraid of the police. I can't tell you anything else about Spain because I didn't see anything else. I didn't walk around outside because I was afraid all the time. If I had been arrested by the police, I wouldn't have been able to reimburse my debt, and I would have been put in prison after a year. When the police arrest a prostitute in the streets, the prostitutes are often mistreated.
I've heard that said before. They abuse them and then they put them in prison.
I've even heard that they are put in solitary confinement until they are released, and then they are sent away just like that, with nothing.
They're thrown out of the country.
Yes, they leave without clothes, without personal affairs, without anything else other than what they had on them at the moment that they were arrested.
The newspapers say that when the girls haven't paid back their debt, they're retained in a brothel.
They are prisoners. So long as they haven't paid what they owe, they are locked up.
And they're always kept in the same place?
I think so, yes, so that they can pay back the money. If they let them go out, they would run away.
Here, life seems like a game between men and women, a game where the women lose every time and the men can't help but brag about being the winners. The children and husbands of Vince Nobile refuse to talk about the women, their mothers and their sisters, who have left for Spain. I'd like to know if it's possible to meet a man in Vicente Nobile whose wife is not a prostitute in Spain. It's possible, but it's very difficult. By doing so, you'll run up against a problem with societal custom and self-protection. If my wife is a prostitute, I'm not going to shout it from the rooftops, or I'd look like a cuckold. So to keep a clean conscience, a husband builds a house with his wife's money. When a wife fails to support her husband, often it ends in divorce. There are many divorces in Vicente Nobile.
You can't overlook the three main elements. These are poor women, black women, in an illegal situation. It's a situation that violates human rights. But the state doesn't seem to be too interested in that aspect of the question. These women are citizens of a state that doesn't protect them, and then they arrive in another state that does nothing to help them either.
Mainly in Madrid, Barcelona, and Lisbon, over 60,000 Dominicans have landed. 40,000 have become prostitutes. Aravaca, a little city in the suburbs of Madrid. Over 4,000 to 5,000 women can be found who are originally from Vicente Nobile. No woman admits to having been a prostitute, and no man admits to having been a procurer. It's really expensive to come here.
Yes, of course.
So how did you do it?
We mortgage the house that we own there. And then at the airport, they take away your passport and your money.
How many years does it take to reimburse that debt?
A year and a half to 2 years.
To finance a trip, it takes 2 years of solid work, 2 years. And do Dominican discos exist here? Yes. There are several on Oranze Avenue, namely the one on Puerto Plata. Officially, these nightclubs or discos are only meeting places for nostalgic Dominicans, but we know that it is all about a different kind of rendezvous. As proof, here are some recent headlines from press cuttings that speak of the fact that the Dominican staff of these clubs are obliged to prostitute themselves in order to reimburse their debts. 11 Dominican women recently helped a judge to dismantle a prostitution network that kept 1,000 women as prisoners, a network that had imported 2,000 Dominican women from Spain. During the course of the trial, which lasted 2 years, the dealers of the Dominican women were found guilty of money laundering, guilty of having imported Dominican minors equipped with false passports, guilty of having promised these women domestic jobs and then constraining them for prostitution. For these acts, the court sentenced them to 5 years imprisonment with a fine of $100,000 in addition to paying damages and interest to their victims. Carmen is a barmaid in one of the nightclubs, but listening to her, even in an illegal situation, she has avoided falling into prostitution, but that has not allowed her to avert her glance from the misery of her fellow Dominicans and to suffer from it. You say you are unhappy to be here.
Yes, I came here by mistake. I thought that it would be different.
Have you saved enough money to go back to Santo Domingo?
I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I only want to go home. Each time that I have returned to my country, I have told the truth. I said that I wasn't at all like what the others were, because a lot of people lie and pretend like it's easy. It's not true. And once other women get here, they are obliged to become prostitutes.
Brazil and its magnificent beaches, or so the postcard shows. But the rest of the scenery includes a world of savage prostitution that the Brazilian military police try to control by restricting sexual tourism, a wish in vain. Because today nothing could be easier with a couple of dollars than fulfilling your every sexual fantasy. Sexual tourism is rapidly increasing. This is a main preoccupation of ours. Foreigners no longer come here to admire the beauty of Bahia. No, they come here to corrupt our children and deprave our youth. They should come here to help us develop Brazil and not do the exact opposite. During their stay, because of their negative attitude, they perniciously destroy our youth and the image of our country. Conscious of the problem, some police officers are committed to fighting it, but from there to speaking of an overall efficiency or united will to stop the exploitation of minors is another matter.
The problem in Brazil is that the police are not conscientious. I don't mean that the Brazilian police are the only corrupt ones, because it is true in other countries like Switzerland. There are many forms of corruption that have existed since the business began, because there's a lot of money at stake. So it's very difficult to be absolutely certain that the police really want to do something in spite of their complicity and possible gains, just like the governments. In short, everywhere there are payoffs and corrupt people.
While the state head of the Salvador military police prepares a nocturnal raid to show us that it fights against prostitution, we learn from the mouths of these same officials that in the hell of favelas, where a gringo wouldn't dare to set foot, 10 million prostitutes, including 500,000 children, work every night to survive.
Na verdade, existe comércio informal e existe comércio mais
In reality, there exists both an amateur network and an organized business.
no interior.
The amateur network exists in the inner country because of extreme poverty.
Os próprios pais, né? Como a miséria está muito grande, funciona da maneira de.
It's about parents who sell their children to gold diggers. Sometimes families sell their young girls on the side of the road to truck drivers.
Pelas estradas, né? Você para caminhoneiro, por exemplo, para numa estrada
or to hotel receptionists. These girls are traded and sold like merchandise.
senhor que trabalha no hotel como troca de algum dinheiro.
This police raid, with weapons at the ready, flashing lights and sirens, cruelly lacks any discretion. No miner, no dealer, no client is liable to get caught. A few young women checked in a bar, well known for its shady activities, will not house any minors tonight. All the women in the disco are perfectly legal. Hard to believe that the owners weren't warned in advance. At night, the streets of Salvador da Bahia are teeming with prostitutes. Many are minors ready to do anything to sell their wares. We meet Monica, a 15-year-old prostitute who has exercised this profession for 7 years now. Very quickly, she tells us that children even younger than she also walk the streets. Do you know any women who are doing what you're doing and who are younger than you?
Oh, yes, of course.
How old?
8 or 9, 11.
Do you know if it's possible to buy a young girl?
Yes.
And how?
Because I know.
Does it take a long time?
No, a couple of days usually.
A week? 8 days, that's enough?
Yes.
Do you have any idea of the price?
It cost a bunch of money.
Exploited and abandoned by their parents, these young girls have only the streets as a universe and their young bodies as instruments of survival. They don't have any more dreams. Nothing but the hope of one day meeting a gringo who will take them out of the country. And if Prince Charming doesn't arrive, a lost adolescent, if lucky, will find a fairy godmother in Ana Vasconcelos. For 10 years, she has been dedicated body and soul to saving some 6,000 women in her halfway house. She knows how to listen to them, understand them, and help them to the end of their path.
We have girls that mother sells for men. I remember like 1 month ago, we went to the police station with the girl. She was 11, and she denounced that her auntie had sold her to a man. He was around 60, and her aunt sent her for 20 cruzeiros, reais, and give the man, the girl, and told him he could do everything with her. Mothers, fathers, aunts, they do so sell their children because they're starving. Also, the children are starving, you know? So we cannot think on them like they were us. They have different codes. They are, miserables. Sometimes they even are not human beings, because to become a human being, it means to come in the culture, to be educated, to be socialized, to have limits, to have conditions to show love and affection. And when poverty is so big, so deep, you cannot find those kind of things. So people sell each other, because they have to survive. It's a war.
The trauma of these child women is so profound that they tell their stories in the third person as though they were speaking about somebody else.
I know fathers that sold the virginity of their daughters, but then forced them to stay in the house. That way they could sell it again to whomever they wanted. If a father needs money, then any friend or stranger who comes by with money or something the father wants will be offered the daughter in exchange. Then the daughter is forced to sleep with the guy.
For what price?
There isn't a price. It could go up to $200 or a television set. It depends on what he needs.
And a father, he would do that even when he knows what the future is for his daughter if he acts like that.
Of course. Even more so because he doesn't sell the girl indefinitely. He knows that as long as he keeps her in the house under his wing, he can always use her if he needs money, and that makes the parents very happy.
Carmita, tell me, before you met Ana Visconsuelos and came to the halfway house, what did you hope for while prostituting? What were your dreams?
I wanted to marry a gringo. A myth of European happiness exists. It is seen as a place where everything is possible. But the reality is radically different from what they imagine it to be. Every month, the dealer changes the young women in the cabaret. That's how it works, especially in Switzerland, where the supposed dancers can only stay 8 months of the year. To destabilize them, the women are constantly being moved to a random place of work. So the woman doesn't really have time to organize herself in the country. It's truly impossible. So she works 8 months in the cabaret and then finds herself in a brothel in a neighboring country for 4 months, where the dealer has left her. Whether it's in Italy, Austria, or Germany, she remains a prisoner there during the time it takes for her to obtain a new Swiss permit.
In the sexual tourism neighborhood in Salvador, the German bar is a meeting place for tourists who use a catalog and select young Brazilian girls that they want to take home. They're free to test out their purchase for 8 days.
Very often, sexual tourism trips are organized in the clientele country. The client buys a ticket and consults a catalog from which he can select the girl of his choice at the age that he desires. Very often, girls younger than 12 are not exported because of problems with false papers. It's a lot easier for a girl of 15. So the global contract includes the choice of the adolescent, a round-trip ticket for the tourist, a one-way ticket for the girl. The girl is officially bought if she stays with the buyer for 1 week. If she suits him, he just has to bring her to his country. It's a standard contract for which the buyer pays from $7,000 to $15,000. The price depends on the girl he gets and on how much money he has.
It's behind these clean-looking places with display windows for the tourists that all the horror and the shame lies. At the end of these few steps is another world, a universe, where beings are ready to do anything to get the hell out of there. All indicative of the fact that this society is so desperate that a child will sell another child or his soul at default of his already used body. This is where we find Monica, age 15, an adolescent who dreams of running away from her life. Abandoned at birth, she was adopted by Antonietta, a courageous woman who has nothing but love to give to the 15 children whom she has raised. Monica, what have you been doing with your nights since you were 8 years old?
I fight to survive. I prostitute myself. During the day I have a little sewing job, I sew, and at night I'm a prostitute.
Why do you do that, Monica?
Because I never have a chance to get an education. I had nothing. I had to get by all alone. So I did what was the easiest, the only thing I could do. My adopted mother didn't help me. I don't agree with what she just said. She can always condemn me, and it's true that I didn't have any material comfort to give her because I wasn't rich, and I'm still not rich. I only had my sweat to give her, like my other children. But I never would have wanted her to take the road of perdition that she did. But if she did it, it is because of the destiny of her family, the one that abandoned her. I can't feel bad about it. Her family is what made her what she is, and that means that it is in her genes. Nobody can change it. The only one who can change that is the one up there. I've had enough of my life.
What would you like to do?
Anything to get out of this.
What, for example?
Study, work, go to classes, anything.
Even be sold?
Yes, even be sold. It would make me happy to be sold to a gringo. He could come and get me and take me to his country. I only know Bahia.
How much do you think you're worth?
Lots of money. But I don't know how much lots of money is. I only know little bits. For me, lots of money is $500.